The sprawling coalition armada gathered in the outer orbits of the contested system called HFY War. Hundreds of warships from a dozen different species floated in perfect formation. Their hulls gleamed under the distant light of the yellow star. The insectoid Zethari Dominion led this massive force. They had pushed deep into neutral space for many cycles. World after world fell under their control. Now, only one small human colony remained. This colony refused to pay tribute. It declared independence long ago. The Zethari wanted it crushed. They brought overwhelming numbers to make sure it happened. Coalition scouts had watched human space for months. They intercepted messages from Earth. Those messages spoke of the full might of Sol's navy. They promised a response that would shake the stars. Everyone expected thousands of human ships, perhaps even the famous human swarms from old borders. Wars. The stories said humans always came in waves. They flooded battlefields with vessels of every size. No one doubted the humans would send everything they had. The Zethari Overmind decided to end the waiting. It sent a final ultimatum across every open channel. The message reached every ship in the armada. It reached the planet below. Surrender now or face total destruction. The coalition leaders felt certain of victory. They laughed in their command chambers. 900 warships against one stubborn colony. What chance did the humans have? Even if they arrived soon, the numbers favored the coalition. Sensors on the flagship Void Reavers stayed alert. Officers watched every sector for any sign of movement. Jump space remained quiet for many hours. Then alarms began to sound. A single contact appeared at the edge of the system. It emerged from a jump point far from the main fleet. Second signature followed. No third or fourth. Just one lonely blip on the screens. Bridge crews stared in silence. Someone checked the data again. The contact held steady. It broadcast a friendly identification signal. The designation read, UNS Indomitable, a human heavy battlecruiser. Nothing more appeared behind it. No fleet, no escorts, no swarm. The coalition officers looked at each other. Some started to chuckle. Others shook their heads in disbelief. One ship, one single warship against 900. This had to be a mistake. Perhaps the humans sent a scout first. Perhaps the real fleet waited in hiding. Perhaps this vessel carried a diplomat to beg for terms. The laughter grew louder across the channels. Zethari Admiral Xathir sat in his high throne on the Void Reaver. His mandibles clicked with amusement, deeper. The results came back quickly. The Indomitable showed standard human design. Its energy signature matched known battlecruiser classes. No unusual readings. No hidden compartments detected. No exotic weapons visible. Xathir leaned forward. His compound eyes narrowed. He spoke to his officers in a low rasp. They send one relic to mock us. This insult will cost them dearly. He turned to the weapons officer. Prepare interceptors. Launch the first wave. Bring me that ship's wreckage as a trophy. The order spread through the fleet. Hundreds of small, agile fighters detached from their carriers. Corvettes followed close behind. They formed attack wings. Engines flared bright blue. The tiny craft raced toward the lone human vessel. The Indomitable did not run. It did not raise shields. It drifted forward at a calm, sub-like pace. A voice came over every frequency. The voice spoke in perfect coalition trade tongue. This is Captain Elena Voss of the United Nations Star Navy. You have unlawfully occupied human territory. You have threatened human civilians. Withdraw now or face consequences. No anger filled the words. No fear showed in the tone. The captain sounded almost bored, as if she spoke to children who refused to listen. Xathir hissed. He found the calm voice insulting. He ordered full speed. The interceptors closed the distance. They entered extreme weapons range. Lasers began to charge. Missiles locked on target. The Indomitable waited until the first wave sat perfectly in its sights. Then its main batteries spoke once. Bright particle lances stabbed through the void. 20 interceptors vanished in silent white flashes. No explosions lit the darkness. No debris clouds spread outward. Ejected. The targets simply ceased to exist. The coalition laughter stopped. Officers stared at empty sensor returns. They checked for jamming. They checked for malfunctions. Everything read clean. The human ship had erased 20 craft without effort. Kazathir felt a flicker of unease. He pushed it down. He told himself this changed nothing. One lucky shot meant little. He ordered the next wave. More fighters surged forward. Corvettes joined them. The Armada watched with growing interest. Surely the real human fleet would appear now. Surely this lone ship served as bait. The Indomitable continued its slow advance. It broadcast again. The same calm voice filled every speaker. Final warning. Leave. The coalition ignored the words. They prepared a full envelopment. Hundreds of ships moved into position. They cut off every retreat vector. Energy shields flared to life across the fleet. Capital weapons hummed with power. The trap closed tight. The single human warship sat at the center. It looked small and fragile. It looked doomed. Yet it made no move to flee. It made no move to fight harder. It simply waited. The galaxy held its breath. The Armada prepared to crush one defiant spark. No one understood yet. No one saw the truth waiting inside that quiet hull. The storm had not begun. It only gathered strength. One ship carried more than weapons. It carried the patience of a species that learned to win without wasting numbers. The coalition thought they faced arrogance. They thought they faced suicide. They thought wrong. The Indomitable drifted on, silent and steady, ready for whatever came next. The Indomitable drifted forward at a steady pace. It showed no hurry. It showed no fear. Captain Elena Voss stood on the bridge. Her crew worked in calm silence. They checked systems. They watched screens. They waited. The voice from the human ship filled every coalition channel again. This is Captain Elena Voss of the United Nations Star Navy. You have unlawfully occupied human territory. You have threatened human civilians. Withdraw now or face consequences. The words came clear and even. No shout, no threat in the tone. Just facts spoken like a teacher to a stubborn child. Admiral Kazathir listened from his throne. His mandibles clicked in anger. He found the calm voice worse than any insult. It treated the mighty Armada like a minor problem. He turned to his tactical officer. They mock us with one ship and polite words. Launch all interceptors. Bring that vessel down. The order flew across the fleet. Fighters poured from every carrier. Corvettes accelerated to join them. Wings formed tight patterns. Lasers charged. Missiles locked. The attack force numbered in the hundreds. They raced toward the lone battlecruiser. The Indomitable held course. It did not turn. It did not speed up. It simply waited until the first fighters entered optimal range. Then its forward batteries lit up. Particle lances cut clean lines through space. Each beam found its mark with perfect aim. Fighters vanished one after another. Silent white flashes replaced them. No wreckage tumbled away. No pilot screamed over open channels. The attackers simply disappeared. The coalition pilots hesitated for the first time. Some broke formation, others pressed on. More lances stabbed out. Another 30 craft erased in moments. Moved slightly. It adjusted position with small thruster bursts. Every move seemed lazy, yet every shot landed true. Kazathir watched the battle feed. His rage grew. He slammed a claw on his console. They dare fight back with such arrogance. Full corvette assault. Encircle and overwhelm. The larger ships joined the fight. They formed a wide net around the Indomitable. Plasma cannons opened fire. Kinetic rounds flew in dense salvos. The human vessel sat in the center of the storm. Shields should have flared. Armor should have cracked. Nothing happened. The incoming fire never touched the hull. Trajectories bent at impossible angles. Missiles turned in mid-flight. They exploded far from their target. Some simply stopped and drifted harmless. Others inverted into bursts of light. The Coalition weapons officers stared in confusion. They ran diagnostics, checked targeting computers. Everything showed perfect locks, yet no damage appeared on the enemy ship. Kazathir felt cold doubt creep in. He pushed it away. He ordered boarding parties prepared. Small craft launched from the armada. They carried elite Zathari soldiers. They aimed to latch onto the Indomitable. They would tear inside and take the bridge. The human ship noticed the new wave. It broadcast once more. The same calm voice returned. You have chosen. Now you will learn. The Indomitable accelerated for the first time. Not fast, not frantic, just enough to meet the boarding craft halfway. Point defense turrets spun up. Tiny beams flicked out. Each one picked off a target with surgical care. Boarding pods exploded before they could attach. Soldiers inside never knew what hit them. The armada pulled back slightly. Commanders whispered among themselves. This single ship fought like no human vessel they knew. Stories spoke of human fleets that swarmed, of endless waves that wore enemies down. This was different. This was precise. This was patient. Kazathir refused to accept defeat. He ordered a concentrated barrage. Every capital ship in range opened fire. Plasma storms raged. Antimatter torpedoes launched in volleys. The void lit up bright as a star. When the barrage ended, the Indomitable remained, untouched, unmoved. Its hull looked the same as before. No scorch marks, no breaches, no sign that anything had struck it. Sensor officers shouted contradictions. Shields at full strength, they said. No energy drain detected. No defensive systems overload. Yet the attacks had vanished. The truth began to spread through the fleet. The human ship did not block the fire. Exist. Every incoming projectile changed before impact. Some turned into harmless gas. Some reversed direction. Some simply ceased to be. Panic started in the lower decks. Crew members spoke in hushed tones. They questioned orders. They questioned the admiral. Kazathir silenced the chatter with a sharp command. He focused on the lone ship. He studied its movements. He searched for weakness. The Indomitable drifted closer now. It aimed straight for the heart of the armada. No fear showed in its course. No hesitation marked its path. Captain Voss watched the enemy fleet. She spoke softly to her crew. They came for a fight. They will get one they never expected. The bridge crew nodded. They understood. Humanity had changed its way of war. No more massive fleets. No more endless lines of battle. One ship carried everything needed. One ship could become anything required. The Coalition thought they faced a lone relic. They thought wrong. The Indomitable closed the gap. Its engines glowed brighter. Its weapons stayed quiet for now. It had no need to speak yet. The armada prepared another assault. They gathered their courage. They ignored the growing fear. They told themselves numbers would win. They told themselves one ship could not stand forever. They did not know the truth. They did not know what waited inside that quiet hull. A single vessel held the patience of a species that learned to turn one spark into a blaze. The battle had only begun to shift. The real lesson approached slowly, step by careful step. The Indomitable moved on, calm and unstoppable, ready to show why humanity sent only one. Admiral Kazathir stared at the main view screen. The Indomitable sat motionless in the center of his trap. Hundreds of Coalition ships formed a perfect sphere around it. No escape remained. No vector stayed open. Energy shields glowed bright on every vessel. Capital cannons charged to maximum power. He felt victory close at hand. This lone human ship could not survive such firepower. He raised one claw. Fire everything. The command echoed through the fleet. A wall of destruction surged forward. Plasma bolts streaked in red arcs. Kinetic slugs flew in solid lines. Antimatter torpedoes raced ahead. The void filled with light and heat. Every ship poured its full strength into the single point. The barrage lasted many long seconds. When it finally stopped, silence fell across the armada. Smoke and energy residue drifted in the battle zone. Target. Officers waited for the debris field. They waited for the explosion. They waited for confirmation of destruction. The screens cleared slowly. The Indomitable remained exactly where it had been. No damage showed on its hull. No scorch marks appeared. No hull breaches opened. The ship looked untouched, as calm as before. Bridge crews gasped in shock. Some officers stepped back from their stations. Others shouted for system checks. The admiral felt his mandibles tremble. "Impossible," he whispered. He demanded full sensor sweeps. The reports came in fast. No shield distortion detected. No armor ablation found. No energy bleed measured. The incoming fire had never reached the target. Every projectile changed before impact. Trajectories curved away at sharp angles. Torpedoes detonated early or turned into harmless sparks. Plasma bolts, bent into loops, vanished. Kinetic rounds slowed to nothing and drifted off course. The human ship had not blocked the attack. It had simply refused to let the attack succeed. Panic began to spread through the lower ranks. Crew members spoke in low voices. They questioned their leaders. They questioned the plan. Kazathir silenced the noise with a roar. He refused to accept this truth. He ordered the next phase. Boarding parties launch now. Take that ship from the inside. Cramps of elite soldiers prepared. They loaded into assault shuttles. They aimed for the Indomitable hull. The human vessel noticed the movement. It began to drift forward again. Slow and deliberate. It headed straight toward the densest cluster of enemy ships. Point defense systems activated. Small beams flicked out like needles. Each one found a boarding shuttle. Explosions bloomed silent in the void, broke apart before they could close. Soldiers inside died without firing a shot. The admiral watched in growing fury. He ordered corvettes to ram the enemy. Suicide runs began. Small ships accelerated to full speed. They aimed to crash into the battlecruiser. The Indomitable adjusted course slightly. It twisted with impossible grace. Ramming vessels missed by meters. Some struck each other instead. Explosions lit the darkness. Friendly fire added to the chaos. Kazathir slammed his throne arm. Enough of this farce. Full fleet advance, close to knife-fighting range. The armada moved as one. Ships closed the gap. They prepared for short-range barrages. They prepared for boarding on a massive scale. The Indomitable stopped once more. It hung dead in space. No thrust, no maneuvers, just quiet waiting. You still have time to leave. Choose wisely. The calm words mocked them all. Kazathir laughed bitterly. He ordered the final assault. Every weapon in the fleet fired again. This time at point-blank range. The barrage seemed endless. Light filled every sensor. When it faded, the Indomitable still sat there, perfect and untouched. Now fear gripped the entire fleet. Officers froze at their posts. Some whispered prayers to ancient gods. Others simply stared. The truth settled over them like cold fog. This was no ordinary human ship. This was something new, something beyond their understanding. Captain Elena Voss watched from her bridge. She saw the enemy falter. She saw the cracks form in their resolve. She spoke to her crew. They came expecting a fleet. They found something better. The weapons officer nodded. All systems green, Captain. Ready when you are. Looked at the tactical display. Hundreds of red icons surrounded her single blue one. She smiled slightly. Time to show them why we only sent one. The Indomitable began to move once more. This time, it accelerated smoothly. It picked up speed with each passing second. It aimed directly at the flagship Void Reaver. Kazathir saw the course. He felt a chill run through his exoskeleton. He ordered interceptors to block the path. Fighters swarmed forward. They tried to swarm the advancing ship. The Indomitable ignored them. It pushed through the cloud. Point defense cleared the way. Tiny drones began to launch from hidden bays. The drones looked small at first. They sparkled like dust in starlight. They spread out quickly. They touched enemy hulls. They began to work. Metal flaked away in thin sheets. Armor dissolved in seconds. Engines seized as tiny invaders crawled. Inside, crew members on coalition ships screamed. They reported hull breaches that moved, breaches that healed behind the invaders. Ships began to die one by one, not from explosions, not from laser fire, from being eaten alive. The swarm grew. Drones replicated using enemy material. They turned wreckage into more of themselves. The density increased fast. Panic turned to terror. Captains ordered retreat. Some ships tried to jump away. Jump drives failed as nanites clogged the systems. Others fired wildly at their own allies. Chaos ruled the armada. Kazathir watched his mighty force crumble. He shouted orders that no one followed. His officers looked to him with wide eyes. They waited for answers he did not have. The Indomitable drew closer. It never fired its main guns again. It had no need. The tiny swarm did the work. Humanity had learned a hard lesson. Long ago, big fleets cost too much. They moved too slow. They died too easily. So they built something else. One ship that carried the seed of victory. One ship that could grow into anything needed. The coalition had come for a battle. They found a lesson instead. The Indomitable pressed on, silent and certain. The armada broke apart around it. Ships fled in every direction. Many never made it far. The lesson spread through the survivors. Humanity no longer needed numbers. One was enough. When that one carried the future inside. The battle shifted forever. Fear replaced confidence. Awe replaced anger. The stars watched in silence, and the single warship moved forward, ready for whatever came next. Its engines burned brighter now. Violet-white lights spilled from the drive cones. The ship no longer looked like a simple battlecruiser. Hull plates slid open with quiet precision. New sections unfolded like petals on a flower. Hidden weapon arrays emerged. Bays that seemed too small opened wide. They revealed rows of launch tubes. The coalition sensors screamed warnings. Officers tried to make sense of the readings. The ship mass stayed the same, yet its apparent volume grew. Impossible shapes appeared where none should fit. Admiral Kazathir watched in stunned silence. His mandibles hung open. He had seen human ships before. None ever changed like this. The Indomitable accelerated again. It cut straight toward the flagship Void Reaver. No more polite warnings came. No more calm words filled the channels. The human ship simply acted. From the newly opened bays, small shapes poured out. At first, they looked like glittering dust, tiny specks that caught the starlight. Then the specks grew larger. They linked together. They formed clouds. They became swarms. Millions of drones filled the space around the Indomitable. Each drone started small, no bigger than a human hand. Each one carried tools. Each one carried purpose. They moved as one mind. They spread toward the nearest coalition ships. The first victims were the corvettes. Drones landed on their hulls. They burrowed in seconds. Armor peeled away in thin layers. Metal turned to dust. Engines coughed and died. Crew compartments opened to vacuum. Screams echoed over open channels. Then went silent. The swarm did not stop. It used the material it consumed. Every destroyed ship fed the growth. Drones replicated. They built more of themselves. Thickened. It darkened the stars behind it. Kazathir ordered desperate countermeasures. Lasers swept the void. Plasma washed over the swarm. Some drones died. Most survived. They adapted. They learned. They hardened their shells. They dodged the beams. They turned enemy fire into fuel. The flagship Void Reaver shook. Drones covered its forward section. They ate through the shields first, then the armor, then the outer hull. Crew members ran through corridors. They sealed bulkheads. They fought with handheld weapons. The invaders ignored the resistance. They slipped through cracks. They crawled along wires. They shut down systems one by one. Life support failed. Lights flickered and died. The admiral stood on his bridge. He watched his mighty ship fall apart. He shouted orders that echoed empty. His officers lay dead or fled. Indomitable drew closer still. It never fired its heavy guns. It had no need. The swarm handled everything. Captain Elena Voss observed from her command chair. She saw the enemy collapse. She felt no joy, only quiet satisfaction. Her crew worked without words. They monitored the swarm. They guided its growth. They made sure it stayed controlled. Humanity had built this weapon long ago, after the old wars ended. After the great fleets proved too costly, leaders chose a different path. They made ships that thought, ships that adapted, ships that carried the seed of an entire navy. One hull held factories. One hull held intelligence. One hull could become a fleet in hours. Given time and material, the coalition provided both. The swarm reached critical mass. It filled the space between ships. It linked into a single network. Now it moved with perfect coordination. Capital ships began to fall, one after another. They did not explode. They simply stopped. Engines seized. Weapons went dark. Hulls opened like fruit. The insides turned to more drones. The armada shrank fast, from 900 vessels to 500, to 200, to less. Survivors tried to run. Many jumped away. Their drives failed halfway. They tumbled into the swarm. They became part of it. Kazathir remained on his throne. He refused to leave. He watched the end come. Drones breached the bridge. They crawled over consoles. They ignored him at first. They shut down the last systems. The flagship went dark. Silence filled the void. The admiral looked out one final viewport. He saw the Indomitable. It hung there calm and bright. It looked unchanged. Yet it had grown. It had consumed in empires. Pride. It had turned 900 ships into nothing. Kazathir felt small. He felt insignificant. He understood at last. The humans never needed a fleet. They sent one seed, one vessel that carried everything. The swarm pulled back slowly. It flowed into hidden bays. It folded away. The battlecruiser looked normal again. No sign of the millions it carried. No trace of the destruction it caused. Captain Voss spoke one last time. Her voice reached the few surviving ships. You came for conquest. Go home. Tell your people. Humanity waits no longer in numbers. It waits in readiness. The survivors fled. They jumped in panic. They carried stories of horror. Stories of one ship that ate fleets. Stories that would spread like fire. The Indomitable turned away from the battlefield, toward the colony it came to protect. Planetary defenses watched in awe. They saw the enemy gone. They saw the single ship remain. They understood. One was enough. The galaxy began to change. Borders grew quiet. Aggressors thought twice. They remembered HFY. They remembered the day 900 came, and one answered. The Indomitable moved on, engines low and steady. It carried its swarm inside. It carried the future. It waited for the next test. Humanity had learned patience. It had learned efficiency. It had learned that true strength hides in simplicity. One warship, one captain, one purpose. That was all it took. Its engines idled low. The violet glow faded to soft blue. The swarm had pulled back inside. All bays closed. All hull plates sealed. The battle cruiser looked ordinary again. Just one ship against the empty void. Below on the colony world, people stared upward. They had watched the sky burn for hours. They had seen the armada surround their home. They had braced for invasion. Then the flashes started. Then the enemy ships vanished one by one. Now silence covered the system. The planetary governor stood on the command tower. He looked through the dome window. He saw only the single human vessel. His voice shook when he spoke. One ship did this. His aides nodded slowly. They still could not believe it. The governor opened a channel to the Indomitable. "This is Governor Hale of HFY Colony. We thank you. We owe you everything," answered from her bridge. Her tone stayed calm. "No thanks needed, Governor. This is what we do. We protect our own." The governor paused. He searched for more words. "How did one ship defeat 900? Voss replied without hesitation. "We did not defeat them with numbers. We defeated them with preparation." The channel stayed open. The colony listened. The captain continued. "Long ago, humanity learned a hard truth. Big fleets cost too much. They take too long to build. They die too fast in new wars. So we changed. We built ships that think, ships that grow, ships that carry everything inside one hull. One seed can become a forest. One ship can become an armada. Given time and material, the enemy gave us both." The governor felt a chill. He understood now. The Indomitable had not come alone. It carried potential. It carried factories. Carried intelligence older than the stars. The swarm had eaten the coalition, turned their metal into more of itself, turned their pride into dust. And then it returned home, tucked away until needed again. Across the galaxy, survivors jumped away. They carried tales of horror. They spoke of one human ship that waited, of drones that consumed fleets, of a captain who spoke politely while destruction unfolded. The stories spread fast. They reached every corner of known space. Species that once thought of raiding human borders paused. They reconsidered their plans. They remembered HFY War. They remembered the day arrogance met reality. The Zathari dominion cracked under the weight. Their overmind lost faith in its warriors. Their fleets stayed docked. Their worlds grew quiet. Conquered planets stirred. Rebellions began in secret. The coalition that once stood so tall began to fracture. Not from invasion, not from war, from the simple fear of what might come next. What if another border dispute arose? What if another ultimatum went out? What if humanity answered again with just one ship? The thought haunted their leaders. They saw the Indomitable in every shadow. They heard Captain Voss in every silence. The galaxy changed. Trade routes shifted. Alliances reformed. Old enemies became cautious friends. Everyone watched human space. They watched for the next silhouette on their scopes. They watched for the next single contact. The Indomitable drifted away from HFY War. It set course for deep space, its mission complete. The colony below cheered. People waved from rooftops. Children pointed at the sky. The governor sent a final message. "You will always have a home here." Voss smiled on her bridge. She did not. She did not need to. Her ship turned toward the jump point. Engines flared once more. The battle cruiser slipped into the void. Gone in a flash, but not forgotten. Somewhere in the black between stars, the Indomitable traveled on. Its crew rested. Its systems hummed. Its swarms slept inside secure bays. Captain Voss stood alone on the observation deck. She looked at the endless night. She thought of the war just ended. She thought of the wars yet to come. Humanity no longer rushed to fight. It no longer built walls of steel. It waited. It prepared. It trusted in the few who carried the many. One ship, one mind, one purpose. That was enough. The stars stretched out before her, quiet and patient, just like the vessel that moved among them. The Indomitable would answer again, when the time came, when another fool tested the line. When another armada gathered, the response would stay the same. One contact on the scopes, one voice on the channels, one lesson delivered. The galaxy learned slowly, but it learned. Humans did not need swarms anymore. They needed only the will to use what they had, and the courage to send just one. The ship jumped again into the unknown, carrying its secrets, carrying its strength, carrying the future. And somewhere far behind, the story of HFY War lived on. A warning wrapped in awe, a reminder etched in silence. They anticipated a massive human fleet. Only one warship arrived, and that was more than enough.